If you're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang, then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesome sponsors, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit Stop TV. As a member, you will receive a $500 voucher to Barber Ford, plus entry into a raffle for a brand new Fanatec H-Pattern shifter. Every point you earn on the track is 1 entry into the raffle, meaning you can race your way into a brand new Fanatec shifter drawn on December 15th. Battle your competitors at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, Brands Hatch, and for the finale, Lime Rock Park. Join the Barber Ford Mustang Club at League ID 3350 today.
With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker, the future is feeling.
Martinsville Speedway is among NASCAR's oldest. It's been around just as long as the sport and has evolved along with it, now sporting a pit lane that stretches from turn 3 to turn 2. And boy, does it look as good as ever. Martinsville Speedway is a fan favorite. We're here this evening, race number 35 of 36 in the Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series. The season is almost over. Just, let's see, 225 plus probably 150 or so laps next week. Somewhere to the tune of 400 laps to go in this season, thereabouts. And we are so close to crowning a champion. Welcome to Pit Stop TV. Welcome to the virtual Martinsville Speedway in the virtual Ridgeway, Virginia. This is such a cool place to go racing. No matter the car, no matter the circumstance, glad to be doing it here this evening for a playoff race for these drivers you see here in the sim. Things are looking grand. Let's take a look at the track information and the track map for the virtual Martinsville Speedway. It is, of course, the paperclip. It's 2 long straightaways, a couple of tight corners, not anything too crazy. That's really all there is. As far as the track goes, that's about all there is to say about it. It's really just a matter of watching these guys try to get around this place at speed. It is such a special racetrack for sure to NASCAR and everything that races at it. Let's take a look at this season's point standings coming into this evening. After 34 races of 36, You see, Joshua Watson and Justin Levine are the only two drivers locked into the final four. Chris Wilhite, Adrian Watts, they enter this race on the plus. Luke Doran and Brandon Masiewski on the minus. Brian Traeger and Lawrence Shaughnessy needing to win. Now, realistically, Doran and Masiewski also, well, Masiewski likely has to win. Doran can probably do it on points, but it's going to be tough, and Wilhite is just about safe at 15 plus. We only have 12 drivers in the session tonight. There's going to be a big-time scarcity of points for these guys, not only in the stage. Well, actually, in the stage, it'll be an abundance of points. Everybody in this playoff field should get some. And then when it comes down to the end of the race, it'll be a scarcity of point differences. So points be made up on drivers, considering even if somebody crashes out tonight, they're getting credited with a top 12th place, or better. So this is going to be a really interesting race for these guys. I don't expect too many changes aside from somebody that is in the bottom four, 5th through 8th, winning a race. That would be the one thing that would shake up this 8-car playoff field at this point in time. Weather conditions in sim, 83.1 degrees in the air, 89 degrees on track, mostly cloudy, and pretty much, aside from the cloud cover, pretty well matching up with what NASCAR had today, a really warm racetrack, somewhere to the tune of 81, 82 degrees in the air, a pretty hot track. These guys were sliding around, putting down a lot of rubber with the new tire compound Goodyear brought. It's a little bit different here in the sim, plus we don't have a couple of days of Xfinity racing in practice and then modified racing from Thursday on the Hoosier rubber, so of course it's going to be a little bit of a different race for sure. It's next gens at Martinsville, and I know it's been very much subject of criticism at this point in time, with now 4 races with this car at this racetrack. You see, qualifying though goes Joshua Watson's way. We'll take a full look at the lineup here in just a moment. I'll talk more, of course, about this car at this track here in just a few. I do want to take a look at this evening's race details before we head to the grid. It's a 225 lap race, a 115 lap stage. There will not be a caution at the completion of the stage. 56% fuel load, 4 change sets of tires, and up to 3 green, white checkers. We could very well see green flag pit stops here this evening, and I think we probably will. These guys can probably go, I'd say, at least 100, well, you can go at least 100 laps on a normal tank of fuel. On this tank, I think maybe somewhere to the tune of 60 to 70 laps to a tank, so we're probably expecting 2 stops. To give kind of a wide window, 2 stops if this race goes green start to finish, thereabouts. So somewhere in that range. We'll, of course, get a better idea as this race goes on. Down trackside on pole, car number 01. He's already locked into the playoffs. He won the first race of this round. To move on, Joshua Watson ahead of Andrew Griesbaum, who is not in the playoffs at all at this point. Luke Doran, Adrian Watts, they make up row number 2, both, I believe. No, Luke Doran, I think, is still in the playoffs. Adrian Watts has been eliminated. Starting from 5th, Brian Traeger, I believe, still in the playoffs. We're going to have to bring in this graphic up. Yes, Traeger's still in. Shaughnessy is in a must-win situation. Chris Wilhite, 15 points of the good. Justin Levine already locked in. Jason Jackson rolls off from position number 9 alongside David Shively. Neither of those drivers in this round of the playoffs. Jackson was already eliminated. And on down to the 2 drivers starting outside of the top 10, Brian Watson, Derek Whitford. They round out your 12-car grid. Well, as cars get acclimated with the track, thanks once again for tuning in at Pit Stop TV. It is always appreciated. That will be our first of 2 pace laps around this place. Martinsville Speedway again, oh so special. I was here on Thursday evening for the NASCAR Wayland Tour Modified Series. Ryan Preece went to Victory Lane, Ryan Newman, Bobby Labonte also in that field. And of course, Ronnie Silk took home the championship. So you Northerners, I'm sure, will recognize that name. But we're about to go racing for 225 laps of the Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series. Joshua Watson on pole. He's already locked in. It's a pretty cut and dry points battle behind him. Down to the restart zone, waiting on the green flag. And we are underway at Martinsville. Already a crash across the line. Adrian Watts in the wall. And caution is out on lap number 1. Really not sure what happened there. Coming to the green, everybody got squirrely, I think is maybe the best way to put it. We'll take a look from high above and watch the number 08, Adrian Watts. He's got Lawrence Shaughnessy behind him. Coming into the restart zone. Power going to start going down. It's like Watts was just slow on a shift, and Shaughnessy got all up into him. Another look here for car number 08, getting turned around, got into Traeger, got hit there again by the 9. And that was about all she wrote for that one. Thankfully, pretty insignificant incident in the grand scheme of things. Pretty light contact all around. Here's the onboard for Lawrence Shaughnessy. It is a short track. It is Martinsville coming to the green. Even Shaughnessy got loose, and maybe it was a product of getting into Watts. That could have been a whole lot worse. It really could have, for everybody involved. Lawrence Shaughnessy will work out of the pit lane, head back out on track. He's not alone as far as pitting under this yellow, as you might imagine. Brian Watson has also visited the pit lane. Derek Whitford is currently in, and Adrian Watts will come in and get more repairs made to that number 08. You can see all of that damage scraped up along the side of the right side of that number 08 Chevrolet Camaro. Whitford heads out, a short stop there. Shaughnessy, it looks like a full 4-tire stop, assessing the damage and heading back out. Didn't take very long in the pit lane at all. And there goes Watts back onto the racetrack as well. 22 seconds in the box, not too long of a stop, all things considered. Pace car lights have been extinguished. We're going back racing this time by. We'll have 5 laps complete. And our first attempt at green flag racing might not have been very successful. Let's give it another shot. Down through turns 3 and 4, oh so slowly through this 12-degree banking. Joshua Watson getting us into the restart zone. Watson down low, Dorian up high, green flag back out at Martinsville. One lap complete. Chris Wilhite alongside Justin Levine. That is your best battle on track after 1 lap of racing. Andrew Griesbaum also a part of this. And they work out onto the back stretch. You see all 12 cars getting strung out. Levine back in behind the 78 of Griesbaum, trying to find somewhere to go. Wilhite hanging out on the top side. And Levine now will back off and leave Wilhite to do his thing alongside the 78 Ford Mustang. Caution flies. It's Brian Watson. Derek Whitford involved. And there you see the Bulldog underbite for Brian Watson after some contact. That car does not look good. This is Watson's machine. From the point of view of the driver, it could be worse, I suppose, but it does not look good. Gonna look back here as what happened to Watson. We'll take the onboard. He was running 12th position after out of 12 cars, and it looks like Derek Whitford might get loose on his own. Take a look here. Onboard, car 04. And sure enough. And Watson just never hit the brakes. If he did, it wasn't very hard. I heard the motor never really slowed down too much. It's as if he coasted into that crash. Meanwhile, Derek Whitford loose on his own, 2 laps into a run. I'm not sure if that's cold tires. You know, admittedly, I haven't run this car at this track at all this week. I rarely get the opportunity to do so, the time to do so, but the Ed Kane certified, what is that? Certified accountant, there we go. Certified public accountant. So Ed Kane CPA, Chevrolet just got loose out of the corner really abruptly. And that might be race over for Whitford. He's got a lot of left front toe in. And I think that is going to do it for the 44 car. Shaughnessy heads back out onto the racetrack. He pits under this yellow along with Watson and Watts. Again, cars you would expect to visit the pit lane after some issues on these previous couple of yellows. And a slow-moving start for these guys. 2 cautions in 10 laps. 12 cars in attendance this evening. Make it now, well, I was going to say 11, but Whitford's going to give it a shot. I'm very surprised to see this number 44 headed back out, and it looks like that left front is pointed just about the way it should be. I'm impressed. That is a good working virtual crew on the 44 car, because they got that car buttoned up nicely. Down the backstretch, the iRacing.com pace car has not failed us yet, is not going to the garage, but it is headed down to the safety of pit lane. 12 laps complete. We'll begin lap 13, this time by Watson inside, Doran outside. It hasn't changed a bit. Green flag in the air. We are back racing. Crash again. Levine and Traeger. Unbelievable. Traeger there in the number 6, all kinds of damage. And Justin Levine in the number 33. It's a good thing he's already locked in because his car is destroyed. Now, what happened here? Watch the 33 and the 6. Brian Traeger outside. Well, I would have to guess that was an issue getting through the gears for the number 6 car. And we will listen in. Listen and watch the tachometer display on the digital dash. Right in here. Watch and listen. Over-revved it. One more time. Listen in and watch the hands. Just a huge mistake in front of most of the entire field coming to the green flag, the 3rd green flag as we've tried to get this race going. And I think the field might have eaten too many hot dogs before they got on track today. It has been a rough attempt at starting this race. You see these guys coming in for service. Traeger up on the jacks. Watts just ahead of him stopped. Shaughnessy already pulls away. Levine and Watson also in. There's Levine. Truthfully, I think he might be done for the day. I don't know if he's going to focus too much on getting that car back out there. There goes Watts. We'll see if Levine sticks in it or not. He's still in the car. I'm surprised he's making that much of an effort. Already locked in. Good to go, and just got absolutely smashed into the wall. Traeger will be the one car to stay in the pit lane, and this is a huge, huge deal for him. Coming into tonight, he's in need of a win. 28 points out, along with Shaughnessy. They both have to win. I don't see Mashievsky here. He is going to be out as well. So realistically, it comes down to the 5, the 6, or the 9 to win a race to knock either the 7 or the 08 out of the playoffs. Adrian Watts already having trouble. That's a big deal. That brings it into focus maybe for Doran. And a bit more of a talk, I suppose, a bit more of a conversation there certainly is worth having, as Luke Doran is having a great night, if you can call it that so far. I mean, 18 laps complete this time by, but you've clearly had to endure some kind of something so far. I mean, this has been anything but ideal for these guys to get started. Well, let's give it another shot. This time out of turn number 4. Watson down low, Doran up high. Let's try this again. Clean down the back stretch. Everybody getting in line once again, trying to find where they belong in these battles. Half of them with damage on their cars now. First lap from that green flag run complete. Watson out ahead of Doran. Wilhite. Oh, what in the wall? Shively, the 85. Straight to the wall in turn 1. He gathers it back up. Rejoins the field ahead of Derek Whitford. And that will put him in position number 9. Justin Levine in this field. He is about 10 seconds back of the field, but he is in the race still. A whole lot of damage on that number 33 Grid Vision Chevrolet. Brian Traeger, meanwhile, is 1 lap down, but back in the field after taking significant repairs from this most recent yellow. Up front, it's all car number 01. Luke Doran second place, Chris Wilhite third. And Doran, if he's able to keep this kind of day going, which, again, if you can call it that so far, he could be in a really, really good spot. We've got Watts having trouble. He's in the 7th position. It's an 8-point gap between them. If they finish as they are here for the stage, and then again for the race, if this were NBC's tracker as far as point standings, Doran would be in, I believe, by 3. Maybe even an extra point or 2 after that. Might be even 4 or 5. Regardless, it's that close, and Doran just keeping his car clean is going to be that important to this championship 4 that we end up setting up for next week at Phoenix Raceway. We know the 01 is going. We know the 33 is going. We know the 7 should be. Chris Wilhite, 15 points coming in above the cut line. For all intents and purposes, he should be going into Phoenix with a chance at the championship, but it's not guaranteed. This, another driver that could try and spoil that fun, as Watts and Jackson go at it into turn number 3, and I can't tell if there was contact going into the corner or not, but Watts gets by, and it looks like we'll just drive away from the 86 car for now. Lawrence Shaughnessy, another driver that could spoil the fun for either Wilhite or Doran or Watts. Any 3 of those guys could be knocked out if the 9 car is able to win today. Everybody getting pretty equally spaced apart. Actually, the best battle on track will be what is on screen. Shaughnessy on the back end of Greasebomb as they are just a couple of tenths apart. And don't look now, but Adrian Watts is starting to make up ground on Shaughnessy as well. Watts has got a good car, apparently. And not to jinx anything at this point, but this is a bit more of what I was expecting. Single car racing around the track. 12 guys racing the racetrack, trying to get through this afternoon and set up for a 4-car finale next week at Phoenix. This is much more what I was expecting. These guys spaced out, just getting what they can get, not having too much drama, and having these little battles that pop up in between, because this 9 and 78 battle, I think, will go on for a little while. Greasebomb looks really, really stable today. And it's going to take a lot to get by that Ford Mustang. And I think that's going to be true for any of these guys here for the most part. If they're able to just hold their own and keep a decent, consistent line, it's going to take moves like that, a big bump in the corner. And Shaughnessy sends the 78 out to the outside wall. That is the easiest way to pass it, Martinsville. Watts goes through. He now moves to the 5th spot, and that would close the gap a little bit to Luke Doran. So now they would be about equidistant if the race ended now. I think Doran would still be 2 points back. So this is important for Watts to do, to move up through this field. He's already got it back to where he is now in the Final Four once again. And he's got to keep, I'd say, above 5th place. There was a scenario mentioned between, I gotta think here. It was mentioned on the 24 radio for William Byron today in the NASCAR Cup race. He had to be above whatever position, and so long as Ryan Blaney won the race. I think it was 18th, they said. Similarly here, I think if Adrian Watts can just run better than 5th all day, both at the end of the stage and at the end of this race, unless Luke Doran wins, the 08 car would be in the Final Four next week at Phoenix to race alongside teammate Joshua Watson against Chris Wilhite and Justin Levine for a championship. That could totally be spoiled. Again, the 5 car could win this race, and he's only a few tenths back, about a quarter second back of Joshua Watson, and these guys could be a lot of fun to watch for this battle up front. To the field work down the front stretch, completing lap 37. There's a group of these guys together from the 3rd back through, it looks like, the 7th position in Jackson. Then Brian Watson is a little ways back. Derek Whitford has fallen back as well. He's racing with David Shively. These guys are 9th and 10th. And they are properly doing their own thing. I think even from Shively to Whitford, they're doing on their own thing. I don't think Whitford is really even considering or even worried about the car ahead. Just getting through this race, trying to get laps logged, and hope that maybe drivers ahead of them have issues if they want to better their positions throughout the course of the day. Meanwhile, very different situation here for Justin Levine. Here's the onboard of what Levine is trying to do to battle this race car. He is really clocked out to the right on the straightaway, and he's never leaving 3rd gear right now. This car is driving awfully evil. That's him trying to get back to power. Not even able to leave 3rd gear. Trying to make some kind of speed around here. This is really, really unfortunate for this 33 car. Granted, again, he's locked in, so it's not too much of a concern as we've got a pass for 3rd place. Chris Wilhite. Oh, we got a great race back here. Wilhite gives up 3rd. He might be giving up 4th. This is Watts down to the inside, and this is a very important battle in our playoffs. That puts more points between the 08 and the 5 in the standings. And recall, the 5 and 7 are teammates. So Doran and Wilhite, they're racing together. Meanwhile, Watson in the 08 and the 01, well, the 2 Watsons, they, of course, are teammates. Shaughnessy, teammates with the 5 and 9. Or 5 and 7, rather. This is a very interesting situation. As Shaughnessy went by Wilhite, I'm sure they feel like Shaughnessy can try and run down those leaders, but now Wilhite bringing the fight right back to Watson. These guys are far from done. Not Watson, Watts, rather. I keep wanting to call Adrian Watts, Adrian Watson for some reason. .44 complete. Again, this is the fight for 4th position, and this is important. Regardless of what position Watts ends up taking from this battle, he's to the good right now on Luke Doran for the stage and the finish if the race were to end like this, but every point matters. And so if Wilhite ends up having an issue later on, this could be the extra padding that Watts needs in the event of Doran winning and him having to race Wilhite for points. They come into this race, what, 4 points apart? Tell you what, we can take a look. Technology allows us to do that. It's actually 7 points apart. Wilhite has 15 to the cut. Mashkiewski's not here. So Watts moving back up into this spot, he will earn 7 points. Doran will earn 9. And similarly at the end of the race, and that's the stage. Similarly at the end of the race, they should have a 2-point differential. So Doran has closed it up to make it a 4-point gap. He's also gaining on Wilhite. Wilhite would drop currently to a 9-point difference. So 9 and 4 are the differences for Wilhite and Watts respectively above the cut line. Doran will be 4 back. So if Wilhite were to drop a few more spots, of course, that would mean more points that he loses to the cut line. Doran gets closer. Even if Doran wins, then Watts ends up in a points battle with Wilhite. And every position Watts gets, especially with that damage on the side of his car, is going to help him stay in this fight. It's the same thing for Wilhite, who I think has the most wins, or is right there for the most wins with Joshua Watson in this season. Suddenly having to manage damage control as we get to the back end of this season, the very, very end as well, the last chapters. Chris looks to the inside of Adrian here to turn 1, who covers it up nicely. And I do wonder how much Adrian is, I guess, aware of the point situation, how cognizant he is of the situation currently, and how much that spot behind him matters. How much he needs to hold the 7 car of Wilhite behind him. And if anything, he'd like to get by the 9 car just ahead, if at all possible. We do have 1 car taken to the pit lane, that's Justin Levine, with his damaged Chevrolet. Brian Traeger has now gone to 2 laps down. And there is now over a second between first and second, Watson and Doran. This still a fight. This is 3rd, 4th, and 5th, just behind them. Greasebomb Jackson stay in order. Whoa, problems there for Watts. And he gives up everything I've been talking about. That swings the balance, makes it a 2-point gap for Watts to the cut line, and an 11-point gap for Wilhite. That is how much these positions matter, especially in this first stage. Meanwhile, similarly, Luke Doran needs to get ahead of that 01 car by any means possible. Can't quite pull a Chastain. But if there is some way that the 5 car can get to the top spot, that's 1 extra point that he can pull on these guys. And of course, the top spot at the end of the race would be great too. That would move him in without doubt. But if he can just get that 1 extra point, it's going to matter so much with the way this race is looking. Best battle on the track now is cars 78 and 86. Jason Jackson putting pressure on Andrew Greasebomb. This is for 6th position. You hear Jackson sliding the rears a little bit on corner exit. Last time we went to a short track. Think back to Bristol a couple of rounds ago, that elimination race. Jason Jackson got into a couple of incidents with some drivers. Things have turned around. He's having a great night tonight. P7 would like to make it position number 6 as well if he's able to do so. This battle with Greasebomb has been going on for a while. Nothing's really changed. Jackson has been as high as the 5th position, but started 9th, so I think he'll consider 7th place currently a bit of a plus right now. Up ahead, battle for 3rd start to take shape once again. Shaughnessy giving up some time to Wilhite. It's not a terrible amount of time, nothing huge. What's worth talking about is these guys run on here in stage number 1. We've just gone by, I believe, the halfway point in this stage within about 5 laps. Brian Traeger starting to slow up in front of those guys battling just behind Griesbaum and Jackson. Traeger going to take the bottom. That's going to hold the 78 up, it looks like. Maybe just a little bit. We'll see if Traeger is able to help him out of the way for turn number 1. Not there. Here comes Griesbaum in turn 3. Traeger stays almost in the racing line. Now gives room to the Ford down below. And that's going to create a gap between Griesbaum and Jackson. Jackson dives the inside. Traeger holds the speed up top, but will roll out of the throttle and give that spot up. Derek Whitford just got a lap down along with David Shively. Whitford will paint the outside wall. Shively will stay low as Luke Doran needs to get by in a hurry. 50 laps to go this time by in stage number 1. And again, the situation for Luke Doran is dire. He needs all the points he can get. 2 seconds behind the race leader is not going to help him. As we stay on board for the moment with Luke Doran as he tries to get by David Shively. Let's take a look as to how we got here over the course of the season. Of course, it's the NASCAR schedule with one modification. We went to Chicagoland Speedway at race 18 as opposed to the Chicago Street Course. So Daytona Auto Club, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Atlanta, Circuit of the Americas there, race number 6. Then Richmond, Bristol Dirt, Martinsville, Talladega, Dover. We rejoined these guys from race 3 to race 12 at Kansas. Then we were gone until Atlanta at race 19. We modified the schedule a little bit. We went to Michigan as opposed to Richmond for our next broadcasted race. But these guys still raced at New Hampshire, Pocono, Richmond, Indianapolis, Watkins Glen. Then we came back at Daytona. They got the playoffs started at Darlington. Then went to Kansas. We broadcasted Bristol. What a race that was. They went to Texas. We covered Talladega. We had to miss the Roval. But then we were back. We're back here this evening after Las Vegas and Homestead. And again, one more look at our standings coming into tonight. This is our situation. Chris Wilhite, 15 above the cut line. Watts, only 8 above the cut line, meaning, of course, Doran is 8 below. Traeger and Shaughnessy must win. Mashayevsky not here. As they run, Doran would have a 2-point gap ahead to Adrian Watts. That is assuming they finish in these positions for the stage and the end of the race. And now things are changing. Pit stops beginning down below, and I mentioned a 60 to 70 lap fuel window thereabouts. Sure enough, Chris Wilhite into pit lane, and this is leaning just on the short side, almost to a 3-stop race. If you go 70, 70, 70, that actually makes it 70, 140, 210. So service taking place here for the purple number 7. Really do love that color for Chris Wilhite. It just looks so good. And Wilhite will work back up onto the racetrack here out of turn number 2. And who is that behind him? That is the race leader, Joshua Watson. That's an important car to get in front of if you're Chris Wilhite. That keeps you 1 lap down as opposed to going 2 laps down. Nobody else yet down to pit lane. So that, I think, is an undercut. Trying to get some track position here for the stage. And that would be important if he's able to move up even just a 3rd ahead of Shaughnessy. That's a big deal for the 7 car. A reminder, we won't get a caution for the stage. We'll keep racing through lap 115. And that is now 41 laps away. Jason Jackson right back on Griesbaum as they come to Traeger once again. Traeger now 4 laps down. Doesn't want to bow out of the race yet, and I can't blame him. He can still win this race. We can still see this race get all kinds of messy. He can still win it, but he stays there in the way of Griesbaum as we see one more car take to pit lane. That is David Shively in the number 85. Everybody else stays on track. And Traeger was in 2 laps ago, so he's trying to use those tires, despite the damage, to get away from the cars just behind as here comes Luke Doran to pit lane. 76 laps complete for car number 5, and I like this move. If this undercut kind of thing works for these guys, he's going to be able to grab a little bit of extra speed, maybe work up to the 01 car and pass the 01 car on the pit lane alone. And if Watson doesn't cover it, that could be a big deal. And here we go. Sure enough, as far as covering it, here comes Watson, straight to the pit lane, covering that up. We expect Shaughnessy in then soon. Watts as well. Brian Watson even should be coming in soon. Griesbaum will come in. And let's see, for Joshua Watson, he comes down through the pit lane. For Luke Doran, he's already down and away. A 14.37 second stop, and it brought him right to the nose of Chris Wilhite. Rather, it brought Wilhite up to him. A 6-lap difference in their pit stops. Wilhite now going to go to the inside, and this is teammates swapping spots. This is a huge deal. I can't believe that. That's going to hurt the 5 car so much. There's Watson. That is going to so severely hurt the 5. Is it a penalty maybe for Doran? He is coming back in. Things you can't have happen when you're going for the final 4. A pit penalty is number 1. For the time being, that will solidify our final 4, except for the fact that Lawrence Shaughnessy is currently leading. So if this race were to end now, which it won't, he would be in the playoffs, but he has not yet pitted. Now, he did pit under our couple of cautions earlier on, so he's already made 3 pit stops. Of course, he was involved in that crash with, who was it off the start? Yeah, too fast exiting for the 5. Again, top of the list of things you cannot do when you're trying to make the final 4. Speed. Shaughnessy, of course, is in that crash with Adrian Watts at the start of the race. He's come in a few times to repair damage, so he's got a little bit of extra fuel in the car. If a caution were to come out, boy, this would flip the script entirely. Also staying out so far, how about Brian Watson in the 04 car? As far as our cars that will cycle around to be the race lead, Joshua Watson still leads, now right behind Luke Doran. But 2 laps separating those 2. And there is Lawrence Shaughnessy. So we know the extent, right? It's about 70 laps for these guys, 70 to 80, we'll say. Shaughnessy coming in, I think, trying to cover up what everybody else has done with the short pits. Doesn't want to be out there for too long. Brian Watson should be coming in here soon, although not just yet. So he'll come around and take a bonus point maybe if they're given for laps led. Stays out on the racetrack for a couple of laps here. And again, if a caution were to come out now, boy, would things change. So this is pretty worth it for Watson, not in the playoffs anymore. Stay out, see if something can flip around for you if the caution does come out. Derek Whitford, he's starting to fall down through the cars that have pitted. He is down to 4th position. Watson and Wilhite have gone on by. And just like the rest of the season, ladies and gents, this race is starting to shape up between the 01 and the 7. The current gap between these two, just a second. Wilhite, as soon as he got those tires in the car, went and turned the fastest couple of laps of this race. Best lap for him, a 19.477. Best lap for Watson, a 19.49. Brian Watson still on the racetrack. In fact, he's just ahead here of Joshua Watson. I figure Brian will probably stay on the track until Joshua gets to him here in a lap or so. Luke Doran will go by the 04 car, and the 04 will actually stay high, it looks like, for his brother and let Joshua go on by. So lap 92, Joshua Watson reassumes the race lead. And now it's about a 24 lap run to the end of stage number 1. From battling for the stage win to just trying to hang on, Luke Doran speeds in the pit lane, now trying to hang on to just 1 lap down here for stage 1. We'll be right back after Pit Stop TV side by side.
If you're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang, then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesome sponsors, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit Stop TV. As a member, you will receive a $500 voucher to Barber Ford, plus entry into a raffle for a brand new Fanatec H-pattern shifter. Every point you earn on the track is 1 entry into the raffle, meaning you can race your way into a brand new Fanatec shifter drawn on December 15th. Battle your competitors at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, Brands Hatch, and for the finale, Lime Rock Park. Join the Barber Ford Mustang Club at League ID 3350.
Welcome back to the virtual Martinsville Speedway. You see the paperclip churning around, churning along like a conveyor belt down below. 1 car is still on the top side of the track to get that sorted out. 103 laps now complete, or will be here in just a moment, out of 225. Watson continues to lead as he is just in the back bumper of Luke Doran. You've watched this little fight for the entirety of that side-by-side, more or less, as they come up to and pass more and more lap traffic. And one important car was Justin Levine. The 5 car got by nice and easy and is now, well, I was going to say is now the first car 1 lap down, except Jason Jackson has now assumed that role. So you can see now Luke Doran has to go a lap in order to be the lucky dog car. That was what I was going to bring up, as now Whitford is slow. He's going to come into the pit lane and hopefully stay in this race. Because so far, everybody who has met some kind of adversity today has stayed in this race, and I want to give A quick round of applause, pat on the back, whatever you want to call it, to all of those drivers who have met some kind of bump in the road, but have not yet given up on this race. That's tough to do with 12 in the field. Nine laps to go here in stage one. Luke Doran just trying to hang on over Joshua Watson. There is no caution, though, at the end of the stage. So even once he gets through lap 115, he's got to keep on hanging on. Now, he is going to take up a few points if he hangs on to this 8th position, no matter what lap he's on. And there are positions ahead as other drivers are coming down to the pit lane. Unsure why. Maybe they're trying to set this race up so they get into their pit windows. And it's looking like a lot of these guys will be a little bit short to have to make a 3-stop race. Watson, Brian Watson, apparently is one of them. He comes in for service. And there are the tires to facilitate this. And they also may be short anyways. Those cautions early in the race might have been why we saw cars go about 80 laps. This could still be about a 60 to 70 lap fuel run, which is still a 3-stop race. Adrian Watts on track. He's just about a second back of Lawrence Shaughnessy. And Watts now, his race has gotten significantly easier, right? The one car he was worried about, Luke Doran, is 7th place, a lap down, and the gaps are just getting larger and larger. The deficit getting more and more insignificant as Brian Watson will now finally leave the pit lane. He came in for a while. 54 seconds, I think, trying to get damage repaired and get back out there with a much more easily operable car. And there's your race leader, just still trying to work on the 5 car. Levine continues to fall further and further back. No caution for these guys in nearly 100 laps is really hurting those guys that were not able to get their cars completely repaired after those yellows. And Levine, especially, has been battling a terribly handling car after that crash with Traeger. He is now at least getting 4th gear sometimes in the straightaways. Maybe a little more damage repaired on that last stop for him. But this has been a struggle for car 33. And I'd imagine he's only upshifting out of the corner to keep from over-revving the motor and raising the temperatures too high to where he ends up endangering that engine. I think Watson's starting to manage his own race and give back a little bit on Luke Doran, realizing it's really not in his best interest to keep pushing for the 5 car. Let him go, and this time around, Joshua Watson claims stage number 1. So there are your payouts. Luke Doran able to get 4 points, but it's not going to matter much. Will Height takes 9. Watts will take 7. You know what? For the sake of points, let's put that in the YouTube chat, right? Will Height plus 9 at the stage. Got 08 Watts plus 7. And the 5 of Doran plus 4. Those are your points from the stage. So that effectively now makes the gap much, much larger for Luke Doran. That will actually increase it from 8 to 11 points just to Watts, and from 15 to 24 points on Will Height. So I would say, with that now being... I'm trying to do math here, make sure Will Height is where I think he is. No, it won't be up to 24. It'd be from 15 to 20. There we go. That's where I was getting that confused. It would now be a 20-point gap. Will Height isn't technically locked in yet, but boy, is it close. Yeah, it's real close. It's really, really close. I'm trying to do the mental math. Will Height is a few points away from being locked into the Final Four. So as long as he doesn't crash out of this at this point, consider him in. Now it's a matter of whether or not those other couple of cars, in this case Traeger or Shaughnessy, or even Watts, is able to win this race. Watts, I'm talking about Doran. If the 5, the 9, or the 6 is able to go to victory lane, that still bumps either Watts or Will Height, and that would be where the points battle is. But right now, it's looking like Joshua Watson has got this thing under wraps. Consider the fact that he has led 109, now make it 110, of 123 laps completed. And he is back to work here on car number 5. Doran now pulls the inside of Greasebomb. Greasebomb will go 1 lap down. And he's in 5th place. Levine up the racetrack there, slow ahead of the 9 and the 08. Traeger going to lose a spot to Brian Watson. And this is so unfortunate for the 6 car. He came into tonight needing a win. He's gotten a win recently. Went to victory lane at Kansas. Proven he can go win races in this series, but tonight, an issue on a restart, simply got loose, over-revved, spun the tires, and sent his race along with the 33 into the inside wall. Now, thankfully, Levine is locked in. It didn't affect him much, but boy, does it affect the 6 and Brian Traeger. That whole crew now just trying to hang on and see if maybe we can get enough cautions between now and the end of the race. And considering we've just gone inside of 100 to go, there is still hope. I know he's 4 laps down, working on 5 here soon, but there is still plenty of hope for car number 6. We can still see a couple of crashes here tonight. For example, take these guys, Watson and Doran. This is not going to be simple. Doran is just trying to stay ahead of the 01, and you saw Watson there bobble out of the corner. This is everything right now for Doran to just hang on, maintain, not lose any more than he already has. It's already a really, really tall mountain, even a cliff right in front of him, but he's got to keep trying to climb. Now, as these guys continue to race in the background, let's take a look at what we have upcoming here at Pit Stop TV. Of course, always have racing going on, or so it seems. Tomorrow night, October 30th, the final broadcast of October. We head out to Willow Springs with the SimLab Production Car Challenge. That is week number 8 for those guys. Mustangs, Toyota GR86s, Renault Clios, and how about some Mazdas to fill the field? Mazda Miatas, that is. 4 separate car classes of production cars going racing on one of the most historic courses in America, not named Indianapolis or Daytona. There has been so much that's gone on at Willow Springs over the years. So much classic sports car racing. And it's so cool to be bringing you a broadcast, at least virtually, from Willow Springs tomorrow night. Meanwhile, Wednesday we head out to Homestead Miami Speedway. It'll be November 1st, and race number 12 of 12 for the UFL Elite Series as they send their final 4 to go race for a championship. Trying to think back to who all is in it. And for some reason, I'm drawing a blank. We'll have Joshua Chin, Blake Reynolds, Chase Cabry, and Aaron Smith fighting for a championship on Wednesday evening. Chase Cabry recently engaged to Haley Deegan. Got a lot on his mind if he can even make the race from a backup rig out in Las Vegas. Then Sunday evening, of course, is back around to a new week for the Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series, just like we're here this evening at Martinsville, except next week we're headed out to Phoenix for the championship finale race on November the 5th. gosh, just look at that Mustang. That is a beautiful shot. The sun setting out behind turn number 3. I'm excited to go to Phoenix next week. Not much has changed for race leader Joshua Watson, aside from the fact that Chris Wilhite has just ducked into the pit lane and is coming in for his round of service. We saw Wilhite grab a bunch of time that last round of stops. This leaves him with just inside of 90 laps to go. I don't think you make it from here. So, does Watson come in soon to cover it up, or does he stay on the racetrack? I would cover it, honestly. I would cover it this time and run deep later, try and build your gap back up to the 7 car. Because if the 7 is able to... Yeah, here we go. I love this move from Joshua Watson. He was able to put a couple of seconds between himself and the 7 car, run short here. It's going to be a 2-stop race from here anyways. I guess a 1-stop race from here anyways. Shaughnessy, same deal. He'll come in. I would not want to run long here. I would take the tires, get out there, run as fast as possible. Here comes Watson. And try to keep anybody from making any kind of advancement on me. So I really, really love this move, especially from Joshua Watson. We'll see where this places him versus the 7 car of Chris Wilhite. Lights up the rears. Where's Wilhite in the background? Not even into turn 2 yet. That is a fantastic move from Joshua Watson. Cover up the undercut. Get back onto the racetrack. That was perfect. Adrian Watts down to the pit lane. Everybody coming in. Luke Dorn has been on the track for 59 laps. He might stay out for a while. He might try and ride it out for a caution, considering he is now on the lead lap as they run. And of course, that's not accurate to how it'll cycle out. Really? Fuel window open to the end? Interesting. I figured it would just be shy. I really thought it was more of like a 70-lap fuel window. That would explain why these guys are short pitting now as opposed to riding this out any longer. But Luke Doran going to try and ride out for a caution flag, and he really needs to. He's got to keep himself alive in this race. He's got, well, if the fuel window is 90 laps thereabouts, he's got nearly 30 more that he can run on this tank before he has to come into the pit lane. So he can ride it out to about lap 170, and I think he has to. He has to wait for something to happen and hope that something does happen. Right now, he's in the 4th spot. If he's able to get a caution, even if he lets Watts by right here, stay in the top 5, stay 1 lap down, or on the lead lap rather. This is a huge, huge, huge change if he can just catch a yellow. Now, as far as catching a yellow, as far as battles in the racetrack, the closest right now, aside from Watts and Doran, is Wilhite and Shaughnessy, and I can guarantee you that's not going to be a caution anytime soon. These guys are teammates. Yes, Shaughnessy needs a win, but he's nearly a second back of Wilhite currently. So really what Luke Doran is hoping for is a lapped car to become an issue for somebody out there. Riding on board briefly with Lawrence Shaughnessy, he rides in the 3rd position. The gap ahead about 0.6. And that's to his teammate Chris Wilhite. Now, while these guys kind of go on in their battles, personal note, brief personal note. It was a pleasure, an honor, whatever you want to call it, to be a part of the broadcast team on Thursday. for the NASCAR Wayland Tour Modifieds here. If you take a look, somewhere, in fact, let's make sure we're in the broadcast scene. Yes, we are. Somewhere over on this section of the tower, we had a camera set up. I was operating it. They trusted me for whatever reason to do so. And it really was a pleasure. Being given the essential worker pass for the weekend at Martinsville was a pretty cool thing. Didn't go for any other days. I don't know how that would have worked out, but a pleasure for sure to be a part of the Martinsville Speedway NASCAR broadcast team on Thursday evening. It was a really good race. I don't know if any of you guys have Flow or watched that race or will watch it when it airs on CNBC, but really good race between a lot of great drivers. Ronnie Silk was able to capture the Tour Championship. Ryan Preece able to grab the win. For a while there, Bobby Labonte and Ryan Newman were both factors. Justin Bonsignor was a big factor. I'm trying to think who else was significant in that race. There were so many names. Even Andy Seiss was a big part of it for a little bit. There was a big crash in the backstretch. So if you guys do have Flow Racing, or if you are so inclined to watch on CNBC once that airs, I recommend doing so. Really, really good race. And that race was shorter than this one. It was 200 laps. I think it went into overtime maybe once. No, I don't think it did go into overtime. See, now it gets all fuzzy a couple of days later. I've slept a couple times since then. Slept in a couple of times since then. But as we come up to 70 laps to go, Joshua Watson already in to the championship 4, just continues to put laps on the track. Now, what is a little concerning is he's starting to give up time. This is the first time all day, and there's a caution. There is a yellow. Hello. That would be why he's giving up time. Where did that happen? Luke Doran is still on the racetrack. He's still rolling. There apparently has been a caution. And what for? Watching from the tower camera, race control's best friend. Oh, Traeger. Slow on the front stretch. That's the only thing I can find. This has large championship implications. This will open up the pit stops, pit road. There we go. And there will be tankers. Already Watson, Watts, Doran in the pit lane, as you would expect. Wilhite and Shaughnessy will stay out. But here is the issue for Brian Traeger. Been battling this damaged race car all race long. Pops the curbing, gets ever so loose. And a half spin prompts a yellow. And it's a wonder to imagine the fact that we've gone about 130 laps without that kind of simple thing happening. And then that's all it takes in order to get that yellow flag. This saves Luke Doran. In every sense of the word. Sped on pit road. Threw away second place right before the end of the stage. This saves the driver of the 5 car. Gets him right back in contention to win this race. And realistically, he's now going to have to win it. And I'll be willing to say that as long as there is no new winner, Chris Wilhite is locked into the Final 4. He's not locked in yet. As long as there is no new winner, he's locked into the Final 4. Well, now that things have gone a little bit topsy-turvy, Chris Wilhite, Lawrence Shaughnessy, your top 2. Watson will fill in behind. And other cars are on the pit lane. Brian Traeger leaves. Brian Watson gets out just in time, same as Justin Levine. And we'll go back racing here in a couple of laps. Watson will line up 3rd. Watts will line up 4th. Doran will line up 5th. And there are 20 lap-old tires on the front row. As Masiewski says, they should be good to go on fuel. So this is kind of a formality, really. Even those leaders, though, that came in, Watson, for example, he's only made 3 stops. These guys have 4 sets in the pit lane. So if this was a tire-saving measure from Wilhite and Shaughnessy, even the guys that they're saving tires over are going to have an extra set. So this now leaves Wilhite and Shaughnessy, at least it should leave them, with 2 sets in the pit lane. It might leave Wilhite with 2 and Shaughnessy with 1 if Shaughnessy took tires on those early yellows. Levine taking more service. He's not going to make it out in time to beat these guys to the restart, but we are into the Geico restart zone. Lap 160 complete. It's a 65 lap race from here at Martinsville. And Lawrence Shaughnessy, the benefactor, the beneficiary of that teammate restart, he drops in line as the race lead. Watson goes up the racetrack and sends his teammate to the wall. His teammate, who needs to win, who needs to get all the points that he can, sends Watts way out to the outside, on the outside now of Jason Jackson. That is a big, big deal. Jackson, by the way, 1 lap down, is your current lucky dog. And Watson goes up to the top of the racetrack, will arc back down. It's like his world has been turned on its head. Wilhite now is in second place and is playing blocker for Lawrence Shaughnessy out front. Watson right on the outside of the 7 car, trying to fight back for second. The door gets shut. Doran now is through to 4th. And everything has shifted for these teams out front, from JBR E-Racing controlling this race, now to being at Highside Motorsports, and a dive there from Watson. He's gonna spin. Desperation with 60 to go, and he gets hit by Grease Bomb. He gets it refired, and he'll go back going. I gotta be honest, I'm confused by all of that. That was all very, very desperate, it felt like. This is Watson to the inside of Wilhite here. He got a good run. I just don't know what you're gonna gain here with 60 laps to go. Going down, hitting the curb, you just gotta be less aggressive here. Lights up the rears in frustration, pulls back forward, and pays the price. And that advantage that he had of new tires, completely out the window. Lawrence Shaughnessy now your race leader. Still, Chris Wilhite, Luke Doran, your top 3. Teammates all out front. And Adrian Watts will line up 4th behind those 3. Joshua Watson will stay out. That is shocking, genuinely shocking to me. Jason Jackson will take the lucky dog. Andrew Greasebaum sits in the pit lane taking some service. He'll be joined by Whitford and Levine trying to get repairs. Traeger as well. What this does do is give Shaughnessy a chance to cool those tires down. And if they're good, they have the front of this race controlled, they have track position. This is going to be a couple of teammates racing it out, I feel like, the 9 of the 5 cars. Shaughnessy versus Doran. And we saw it Saturday night. Austin Hill, Sheldon Creed. Push does come to shove eventually. If they get away and get to racing for this win, push would have to come to shove between them. And I am so curious to see how that goes. Neither one is in looking out. They are both out looking in, while Adrian Watts has to race the 7. So Shaughnessy, he's currently in. It is then a, let's see, was 7 add 2, so a 9-point gap between the 08 and the 7. So realistically, Watts needs to beat Wilhite by a lot, if not prevent a new winner from winning. This really forces the hand of JBR E-Racing. They have got to get desperate now on this restart, and it looked like Joshua Watson was desperate on the last one. I don't know where that aggression came from, especially from somebody who led 100 and some laps, 140 laps or so to get the race going. That was ultra aggressive into turn 3 and completely shakes up this race. Into the restart zone one more time. Now 55, 56 laps to go. Green flag back out at Martinsville. Luke Doran straight through to second. He'll sort it out with his teammate out front. Wilhite plays blocker, and Watts tries to go around the outside. Much more controlled attempt there from JBR E-Racing, but Watts gets the wall. Watts still trying to the outside of Wilhite. It won't happen that time. And Watson backs up to the 33 car of Levine, who looks low. And here's Wilhite over Adrian Watts. Watts desperately needs to get by all three of these cars out here, or at the very least, needs the 7 to have some pretty significant issues. Watts with a move. He's going to send Wilhite and dump him in turn 3. That's short track racing. I can't imagine that's going to go over well. Wilhite will go straight down to the pit lane. Watts will stay in the pacing field. And let's take a look back. This out of turn 4, coming around to where it all happens in turn number 3. Watts gets a block there from Wilhite. I can only imagine he must have felt like he was just continuously getting blocked and blocked and blocked. A move there, sends the 7 into the corner, absolutely dumps him. And there were a lot of angry words, a lot of angry drivers, a lot of frustrations emptied in the league Discord after last week at Homestead. And I was admittedly a little bit afraid that this kind of thing might happen, that we might see some angers boil over here at Martinsville. I think this is just the water being cranked to 10. This is the start of it. And this is a big, big deal. You've got two really heated, really talented teams out front that are trying to set themselves up to win a championship, not only as drivers, but also as teams. And it's, of course, at the short track, Martinsville Speedway, the paperclip. 50 laps to go under caution, this time by... Credit to Chris Wilhite. A lot of iRacers would not have handled that as well as he has, staying back in the field. I'm sure it's kind of a chip on the shoulder. He must have seen it coming. The good news for him, even with that send, even with that dump, he's still got enough points over the 08 that he is still in the Final Four as we speak. We remain under caution. I would think we should get the 1 to go signal this time by from Barney the Flagman, but I suppose we'll find out this time by. Do caution lights extinguish? Yes. Well, Adrian Watts and Joshua Watson will line up right behind Lawrence Shaughnessy and Luke Doran. Each of the two drivers in the front row are in must-win situations. Luke Doran after speeding on pit lane today. Lawrence Shaughnessy coming into today. Watts is trying to stay above them both. And Wilhite is just about locked in. Just needs to finish this race in a decent position. into the restart zone one more time. Inside of 50 to go at Martinsville. Green flag back in the air. And Watts will make quick work of the 5 car. That's going for second place out in turn 3. Watson will fill the gap underneath. They're going to try and shove the 5 car of Doran out of this conveyor belt. Doran gets in line, tries to go down, and Watts blocks. Doran's going to send the 08. There was a bump given. Watts hung on. Now Wilhite lines up in behind the 01 of Watson. Watson and Wilhite side by side down the front stretch. Your top 3 in a line at Martinsville starting to space out. Doran starting to fall back as Watson gives up that spot to Wilhite. Shaughnessy currently would move himself into the playoffs as the laps dwindle and everything happens behind as far as team lines crossing maybe a little bit. Jason Jackson's right behind it. Andrew Griesbaum's back on the lead lap. Derek Whitford to be next in line if we were to get another caution to move back onto the lead lap. And Adrian Watson got way loose out of turn 4. He's going to fall back. And he's back to the nose now of Jason Jackson. Adrian Watts looking to the inside of Lawrence Shaughnessy. That's for the race lead. He backs out wisely at the center of the corner. A cover there from Shaughnessy for turn 1, and Watts stays back. No contact. If you recall at the start of the race, these two were involved in that incident, taking the green flag. Watts got all jacked up trying to take the green, and caution will fly. David Shively has gone around out of turn number 2. And this brings all of those guys right back together. Flips the script one more time. But here is the 85 car out of turn 2 having an issue. Just got loose all on his own. Quarter exit and noses it into the inside wall. And I will once again say it's a wonder we went 100 and so laps, 150, 130, something like that, without any kind of self-spin, any kind of single car issue, any kind of contact of any severe degree. And cautions breed cautions. We've had a rash of them lately in the last few laps. Only 7 though for 31. While these guys pace around under this yellow and get set to go with less than 40 left at Martinsville, we're going to go Pit Stop TV side by side one more time and get ready for this restart. Welcome back to the virtual Martinsville Speedway. Getting ready to go back green flag racing just on the far side of 35 laps to go. Lawrence Shaughnessy going to control this restart once again. He's been given the race lead as a set of circumstances have unfolded. Oh, lineups changing in the background. But Luke Doran, also a must-win situation, goes on by. And we've got ourselves a race for second. Adrian Watts outside. Both the 5 and the 9 need to win. And realistically, in the situation that they do go up here and run like this, the 08 has to cover it up with a win as well. Oh, and the 08's going to spin out of turn number 4. Hard on the inside wall. Caution will fly. Just as Luke Doran made a mistake all on his own earlier in pit lane, Adrian Watts has made a mistake racing for second and for a spot in the final 4. Out of turn number 4, watch the 08 car, just gets free, much like David Shively, goes around, noses it into the inside wall. Mistakes that you can't have happen. If you're going to have them happen, you got to have them happen early, like Luke Doran in the pit lane, so you can have time to recover. He has recovered. He's running second. Under that last yellow, Watts' teammate, Adrian Watson, came into the pit lane, got some new tires, got some new fuel, headed back out. And that, I believe, will be the final stop for Joshua Watson, final set of tires to go on that Chevrolet. The cars ahead are trying to do it without another set of tires. But Adrian Watts will absolutely come in for service, for damage repairs, possibly. Along with Andrew Griesbaum there on the 78 car, who has cycled back onto the lead lap. There's Watts in the pit lane. Your lucky dog under this yellow, Justin Levine, who is now 2 laps down. Now, Brian Traeger, I know I've said a few times, he's still alive. I think he is ever so close to officially being eliminated as Watts will head back out on the racetrack. 21 seconds in his box. Brian Traeger is oh so close to officially being out of the playoffs. He's currently 12th. And actually was just passed for 12th by David Shively under this yellow. He's 5 laps down. Levine is 2 laps down. Watson is 4. Now, technically, he's not eliminated yet. But we are quickly going to get to a situation where he has no opportunity to get back into this race. Pace car lights stay illuminated. Let's revisit the point standings coming into tonight. Watson and Levine, they're taken care of. Will Height 15 up with the stage points that he won in stage number 1 that are listed in the YouTube chat. He's plus another 9. So effectively, that would make it then 24. Watts plus 7 makes it 15. But then Doran plus 4 cuts those back down to make it, again, quick math on the fly. I know I said it earlier and I already forgot. I believe that makes it, yeah, makes it 20 points now for Will Height to the cut line. And it makes it 11 for Watts. So they're separated by 9 points. And realistically, I don't see a world where Will Height ends up 9 spots behind Adrian Watts, especially after, well, especially with all the cars we've got littered at the back end of the field that are just about eliminated from contention. That said, it can still happen. Never say never. Shaughnessy and Doran, your front row, will have 30 laps to go. This time by at Martinsville Speedway. It's the place to race this week. And down to the restart zone. Shaughnessy in control in the restart zone. Green flag back out. Team orders, get them lined up on the bottom side. That's High Side Esports. JBR E-Racing's Joshua Watson hanging up on the top side. Whitford side by side with Watts as he tries to claw back into this fight. Jason Jackson there in 5th. Side by side still. This is for 3rd. Watson trying to pop the bubble. trying to get up there and split these guys up, keep them from winning, and keep his teammate in the playoffs. Adrian Watts is coming back up here too. He's in the 6th spot right behind these guys, and he just went purple at 19.466. The track is getting quicker. Here's the onboard with Watson as he races behind Wilhite, and here comes... No, here does not come Jackson. I thought maybe that was the reason Watson took the high line on entry. But he's trying to get that exit line and get a run out of the corner, it looks like. Caution! Again. And once again, it's David Shively in the back. And he's going to crash again. He'll get the car turned back around this time and get started towards turn number 1. But he will lose a 6th lap, which now puts Traeger on his own lap and helps the 6th car out a little bit. Look back at it here for the 85 car. He's been in trouble already this evening. Out of turn 4, same deal as the spin out of turn 2. Lit up the rears, got loose. And this puts those guys up front ever so close once again, right on top of each other. Levine will get another lap back, and that will now move him to be just 1 lap down. The day that Justin Levine has had. I would not want to be him, but you know what? Again, props to these drivers, no matter who they've been this evening, sticking in this race, not giving up. We're now inside of 25 to go, and Levine is just 1 lap away from being back in this race, albeit very damaged. But maybe, just maybe, that car can grab some spots here by the end of it. Respawn also in the pit lane. He'll be exiting. And Watson comes in for service. Traeger will stay out. And really, all we're doing under these cautions now is waiting. I think the pit stops have been made. Track position is what it is. We're just waiting to go back green because, of course, Shaughnessy and Doran, they've got to win. Wilhite is playing blocker for him. They've helped him so much this season. I can recall multiple races, even in our limited coverage, where they've helped Wilhite get these wins, go toe-to-toe with Watson. And it's getting paid back tonight. Watson, meanwhile, is trying to pop that bubble, as I said. Get up there, get the 5 or the 9 out of victory lane, and keep his teammate Adrian Watts alive. Watts lines up 6th once again, and there's just not a whole lot you can do from 6th place on a restart. This place stacks up. With shifting, it's really a whole different game than it used to be. 10 years ago, you could do a lot more from 6th than you can now. Looks like pace car lights have been extinguished. We'll go back racing this time by with 21 laps remaining. Lawrence Shaughnessy, Luke Doran, your front row. We'll see how this boils down. Again, 21 left. Teammates on your front row that need to win. One of them, only one of them can win this race and go on to the playoffs, go on to the Final Four, I should say. We'll see how it works out into the restart zone. Green flag once again, 21 left. What can Watson do up top? Through turn number 4, not much changing. Rows 2 and 3 look like they haven't changed at all from the restart. Actually, now Watts goes on by Jason Jackson, so he will get that spot and get a little bit closer to Wilhite and Watson. Wilhite still in that 3rd spot, keeping Watson off the bottom lane. And even if Watson can get by the 7, he's got to go through 2 more cars in less than 20 laps now as we take 19 to go. So little time, so much to do between these two teams to keep or get their teammates into the championship race next week at Phoenix. Shaughnessy leading over Doran. Have these guys battled at all yet? I don't think so. And Adrian Watts goes quickest. Look at that. A 19.421 as he pulls up on Wilhite and Watson. And these are your 2 leaders. Wilhite tries to close the door. Here comes Watts into the fight. He might take matters into his own hands. He's got to win this race with the situation at hand. He's got to get by the 9 and the 5. And Watts has already sent the 7 car once today, sent him into turn 3, spinning. He's got to find a way by both of these cars, and of course, one of them being his teammate. I know Watson's trying to help the situation, but man, I do not want to be in the 08 car right now. I'm glad I'm not. $16, now 15 laps to go at Martinsville. Time is running out. Tensions are getting higher, getting tighter. You could cut him with a knife. And look at that. I think Doran might have taken a swipe there at Shaughnessy at a turn 3. The problem here for these two is they can't really race yet. They've got to just get through these laps and not make a mistake, not put a wheel wrong. They've got to be absolutely perfect until the last few, and they know they get away from Watson. So even if Doran gets a run here on Shaughnessy, or if Shaughnessy can try and back it up in a corner, they can't do a whole lot. There's now contact between Watson and Wilhite. They're going to sort it out down here in turn 1. And Wilhite stays low. Watson stays high. Nothing really changed. All they did was back up from the top 2. Watson might get in line here behind Wilhite. No. They were clear for a second. Watson stays up top. And this time, Watson will get in behind the 7 car. $11 to go at Martinsville. This time by for your leaders out front. Shaughnessy and Doran in control, trying to send one of them to the to the championship 4 at Phoenix Raceway next week. Early in this race, it was all Luke Doran trying to do it by points. He had the numbers at one point in time in stage 1, and Watson in trouble. Crashing, spinning on the front stretch, cautions out. Watson gets turned back around in his pink number 01 and will gather himself up. Here's the moment of spin. It's free out of the corner, loops it back around, and caution. Thankfully, nobody else involved in that self-spin. And Watson will stay out, I believe. Yeah, he's exhausted his 4 sets of tires for the race. But he'll have to stay on those now 30-lap-old tires. And out front, the situation might be getting a little bit dire for Lawrence Shaughnessy. He pitted 80 laps ago. And this will put him in a position where he has got... I mean, he should be good on fuel with these yellows, right? But he's got some really old tires. Now, it's only a 20-lap difference to his teammate Luke Doran. But if that bubble gets popped, if Watts is able to get up there and rough either one of those two up, Watts has 26-lap-old tires. That is a big, big difference. Now, how much of a difference does it make? I don't know. I don't have the data in front of me as far as that goes, but I can tell you it's a big mismatch, at least as far as wear. And hey, this puts Justin Levine back on the lead lap. I think he was at one point, 3 laps down? On the verge of going 4 laps down? And he is back in this race. Despite all the damage that he's had to go through today, that is, if he doesn't blink out with 6 to go, he comes back. I think was waiting to blink back into existence, and will roll into his box, nice and slow. Six laps to go. Laps are taken away. What can these guys do, if anything, if you're JBR E-Racing? There is so little time and so much that the O2, or the O3 rather, has to do against 3 rival team cars out front. For 170 laps, Adrian Watts looked like he had that last spot wrapped up. Then a couple of cautions came out. Particularly one caution came out right when Shaughnessy needed it to stay out, hold on to track position, and try to go the distance now. 5 laps to go there under yellow. We'll restart with 4. And Adrian Watts has got to find some way. He doesn't necessarily have to win the race, he just has to beat the 5 and the 9. Because he has to prevent them from winning. And we know Chris Wilhite isn't going to send them. We know Chris Wilhite isn't even going to try to pass them. He's a teammate. He wants one of them to join him in the Final Four at Phoenix next week. It comes down to mind games. 4 laps to go at Martinsville. That is just 2 miles. And into the restart zone we go one more time. Early green flag there from Shaughnessy. They raced out of turn 1. Side by side are Watts and Wilhite, as the top 2 are left to figure it out. 3 laps to go, this time by the flag stand. Watts might have a nice little run here out of turn 4. He's got to do a lot of work, though, to clear one of the fastest drivers all season long, and certainly the fastest not to be on his team. Spinning in the back, 1 car around, it's Justin Levine. And a caution will fly once again. And this will give a lap back to Brian Watson. It won't change much in the race as far as immediate timing and scoring differences, but it does put Adrian Watts in 3rd place. Oh, Martinsville, how you never cease to fail us. Not sure if that was Levine getting a little bit overzealous on his first restart back with the field, or if maybe there was some netcode contact. Here's the onboard from the 33 car. Round on his own. One car going to pit under this yellow. That is Jason Jackson. He's going to have some cold tires in the back out there, but if we get a couple of quick green-white checkers, might be able to move a few spots back through this field. I think he just got sort of back out to, what, 7th or so? Racing with Whitford. He's only going to lose a couple of positions. This isn't a terrible idea. For Adrian Watts, though, the opportunity is now. We're going to restart bottom side. You're going to have a shot both here at Doran and Shaughnessy. This is the first restart in a while that they won't have Wilhite in 3rd taking it easy on him. Which now begs the question, are they going to work together at all on the front row of this race? I don't think they can afford to. I don't think Shaughnessy can afford to try to work with Doran at all. But Doran's certainly got to try to find a way in line, and more than likely the 08 car is going to be there. Which again takes me back to that pit lane speeding penalty for Luke Doran. He had this race nearly in the palm of his hand as far as points between himself and Adrian Watts. Sped in the pit lane, and while I hate to keep bringing it up, that is why he's in the situation he is in, because even if the race sorted out exactly like that otherwise to this point, was still in this kind of situation late in the race where he's side by side with Shaughnessy, he would have more points just in case it came down to a point situation between he and Watts. Realistically, though, he didn't gain all the points he needed, didn't get the stage win, didn't get any closer. In fact, he got farther away, and he puts himself now in this realistic must-win situation, along with his teammate Shaughnessy on the inside. Shaughnessy has been in that mentality, though, from the get-go. Is there a difference as to how you prepare coming into this race, knowing you're in a must-win versus not? I think so. Denny Hamlin talked about it all week coming into Martinsville. He looked at it as a must-win, and he darn near won the race. I know third place a few seconds back might not seem like it, but he wasn't far off. And we will have our first green-white checkered overtime attempt in the Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series at Martinsville. Who locks their ticket into the Final Four? Let's find out. Green-white checkered number 1 underway, and Watts straight to the bottom side, storming to the inside of Luke Doran. That is a big move for Adrian Watts to get by one of the 2 cars he needs to pass, but Shaughnessy is still out front. 1 lap to go, and Adrian Watts is going to spin! Again, a driver with their own destiny in front of them, and this is the second time we've seen Adrian Watts spin out of turn number 4. I can only imagine. We'll take a look back at the situation for the 08 car of Adrian Watts, but we saw pretty well what happened. Great restart. Got by Doran, and I really thought here in 3 and 4 he was in a great spot. He rolled up on Shaughnessy beautifully. And then out of the corner, just lost it all on his own. The one thing that you can't do coming to the white flag to race for the win. And I hate to get corny with it, but that's the kind of stuff that makes the difference between a championship and not. Between a champion driver and not. It's those kinds of mistakes. It'll be rinse and repeat, re-rack, re-stack for the field. Shaughnessy out front, Doran second. Watson will line up third. And we have now racked up a couple of extra yellows. I recall not so long ago it said 7 for I think 31 laps. Now 12 for 59 and counting. 9 lead changes though, you can't say these guys haven't been racy. And the pace car lights will stay on. Let's revisit those upcoming shows here at Pit Stop TV. Next up, we head out to Willow Springs. Sim Lab Production Car Challenge. 9:30 Eastern tomorrow night, October the 30th. And boy, is that going to be spooky as they go flying down the backstretch into the sweeper at turn number 8. Got to wrap around turn 9 in a multi-class, 4-class situation between 4 different production car classes. The Ford Mustang, the Renault Clio, the Toyota GR86, and the Mazda Miata. Then Wednesday, after everybody was been tricked or treated, we head out to Homestead Miami Speedway for the championship in the UFL Elite Series. The Final 4 there, Chase Cabry, Blake Reynolds, Josh Chin, and Aaron Smith. A wide variety of drivers in that Final 4. They're going racing for a championship Wednesday evening in the Gen 4 Cup car at Homestead. Make sure to tune in at 9 Eastern. Likewise, make sure to tune in for the Final 4, the championship race at Phoenix. We're going to find out here in a couple of laps who is racing for a championship in that one. Lawrence Shaughnessy, Luke Doran, teammates on the front row. Justin Levine is back up to 6th. Waiting on the green flag, Shaughnessy launches. We're racing down to turn number 1. Shaughnessy and Doran have to win. Watson is trying to upset them both and keep his teammate Adrian Watts in the playoffs. 1 lap to go at Martinsville. White flag is out this time. No caution to bring it back. Shaughnessy on 90, nearly 100 lap-old tires on the inside. Watson on the outside, he's got 50 to them. Shaughnessy backs it up on entry, going to try and race the 01 back around to keep his season alive. And Josh Watson is going to go to victory lane and keep his team alive. Shaughnessy sends him, for what reason, I don't know. And tempers have boiled over. What matters here is it's another win for the 01 car of Joshua Watson, and that keeps Adrian Watts in it, I think. He does end up 1 lap down. Not sure how he ended up a lap down. That's beyond me. Well, if you ever wanted drama at Martinsville, you got it. And Watson burns it down. Shaughnessy had it all in front of him. Couldn't hang on. And Watts comes around and gives his teammate a clap there to the left side of the car. Let's take a look back at unofficial race results from all of that. There's a whole lot to try and digest. Coming home with the race win, car number 01. Hangs on. Well, it doesn't hang on. Just gets by Lawrence Shaughnessy, who couldn't hang on. Watson led 140 laps and only just got back to position number 1 out of turn 4. Luke Doran goes 3rd. Chris Wilhite 4th. Andrew Griesbaum hangs on for a top 5. Justin Levine recovers to 6th ahead of Jason Jackson. Derek Whitford. Adrian Watts ends up a lap down. Brian Watson 2 laps down. In the back 2 cars, Brian Traeger and David Shively round out the field. Unbelievable drama there at the end. Let's take a look back at it, shall we? Here's the white flag, 1 lap to go, brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. Shaughnessy backed it up early into 1, a little bit of contact there with the 01 car. And down here in 3 and 4, Lawrence just couldn't get the car turned. I mean, he's got 50 lap older tires, gets loose out of the corner, and Watson simply drives away. And boy, did tempers flare down into turn 1. I don't get that. Couple of cars, couple of drivers have already tuned into the broadcast waiting channel. Joshua Watson, if you're out there listening, we're waiting on you. Try and get to you first. Once again, here's that restart. That was white flag. See Wilhite park it down on the bottom side for 4th, Doran 3rd. Shaughnessy, I'm not sure what he should have done differently. I can tell you what I might have done differently. I might have used up the left side of the 01 car. We saw Creed and Hill do it on Saturday night. And sure enough, Joshua Watson drops into the interview waiting booth, and a big clutch race win for car 01. But there's a lot going on behind the scenes for you guys, and not only does that keep you, keep your teammate Adrian Watts in the playoffs, but there's a lot more going on than just that, it seems like, Josh.
Just trying to make sure we get one of us in and trying to keep momentum going, you know. We had a really good car, was able to get out front and kind of check out, and really hated to see that caution. Just trying to get back around those guys, made a couple bonehead moves, trying too hard, and finally just kind of settled back down there and able to get a really good restart there on the inside and that last restart. Lawrence kind of wiggled off 1 and 2 there, or 3 and 4 maybe it was. I can't remember. One of the corners he wiggled off of, and we were able to get to the outside, which I figured, if anything, he was going to give me the outside. I didn't think he was going to give me the inside, which is all rights by him. He's protecting, trying to do what he had to do, and I had actually put a little bit more rear brake bias into it the last couple runs to make sure that we could get into the corners better, and just kind of was able to get through 3 and 4 a little bit better and make the high side work with that brake bias. It helped the car really rotate in and through the center, and I don't know how we got that done. A little shocked, but very happy at the same time.
And it does look like it'll just keep your teammate Adrian in the Final Four, which is a big deal for you guys, of course, going not just for your personal championships, but also team championships. Was there any kind of panic at any point in time? I know he had a couple of self spins out of turn 4. Was there panic in the war room?
Yes and no. Beginning, it really wasn't. It was just, we came in with the mindset of running our own races, and if everything works out, it works out. We weren't going to try to do anything stupid or anything. We were just going to run our race, do what we had to do, and kind of just be able to control the race the way we were. If it couldn't be him to win, it was hopefully going to be me. So then there was no new winner. They got a little nerve-wracking and a little panicky there towards the end, with cautions coming out and everything else going on. But like I said, I don't know how, but we were able to make the outside stick and be able to get around them clean there at the end, and that's what it's all about. This is Martinsville. It's a fun track. Probably the best decision ever NASCAR made to put this race here at the end like this, and just glad we were able to come out on top.
Joshua Watson goes to victory lane at Martinsville, keeps his teammate Adrian Watts in the Final Four. They'll both race for a championship against Chris Wilhite and Justin Levine. Josh, congratulations. We'll be talking to you next week.
Thank you. We'll see you guys then.
Josh Watson comes home position number 1, but he had to pass the number 9 car to do it there in the late stages, and something tells me there's definitely a little bit to talk about here with Lawrence Shaughnessy. And Lawrence, you led 86 laps total, but I'd say 80 of those were there in succession after a timely yellow for you, untimely yellow for JBR E-Racing. Walk us through those 80 laps and everything building up to that last restart.
Yeah, so we got that yellow at lap like 135 or whatever, a little after 135. I can't remember when it was. And me and Chris just went in with the game plan of do whatever the 01 doesn't. So we stayed out, got a really good jump on the outside to take that lead, and then it was just a matter of getting a bunch of good restarts in succession. A little frustrated. I had taken the white before that last yellow came out, but iRacing messed me up on that, I guess. Didn't think I'd have to win it twice, but it was all I could do to win it once. But yeah, it was just a succession of a bunch of restarts and having my teammates there for me to defend from those guys. Those JBR guys are so good, and we knew we'd have to be perfect all night to get it done. And even when we were, Josh is just better.
98 lap old tires. It's no wonder they couldn't hang on in that last corner. Is there anything you'd go back and change those last couple of laps trying to get that one?
I wouldn't give him so much room on the outside. I tried to run 3 and 4 on that last lap real tight to not run him up the racetrack. But I've been preaching about bad racing in the Discord, so I didn't want to be the guy that stuffs the 01 in the fence to take a win. No, honestly, I wouldn't get a better restart. Get through 1 and 2 better the first off the last restart. Not give him a chance to get to my outside. But no, he's just so good. He's got fresher tires than me. It's just one of those things.
Sometimes it's just how the cookie crumbles. Lawrence, I appreciate your time. Congratulations on still finishing second. Given the circumstances of the field, that's still a pretty good job. Unfortunate it doesn't move you on into the Final Four. I'm sure we'll be talking to you here very, very soon.
Yeah, thank you. If I could, just real quick, shout out to Bumper Thumper, Ryko Motorsports, or Ryko Performance, Competition Auto Body, my teammates Chris and Luke. They did a fantastic job tonight. Without them, I wouldn't have even been in that position. thanks to my mom who tuned in, my brother-in-law David, and you for putting on a fantastic broadcast every time you come out with us.
Hey, it's certainly appreciated to have you here, Lawrence. Again, congratulations on still position number 2, a strong race, a bunch of laps led. And again, hopefully we're talking to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Lawrence Shaughnessy, position number 2. His teammate Luke Doran comes up that 1 spot shy, well, 2 spots shy as well. Just getting passed up on that last restart, and will join the driver of the number 5, Luke. For a long time there in stage 1, 100 laps or so, you had the points to at least get almost even. Real close there with Adrian Watts. What happened on pit lane?
I sped. I lost track. I thought I made it to the exit line, but I didn't, and gassed it up. And I thought I was good. I was halfway down the backstretch before the black popped up, and yeah, just killed the stage points. I needed, that second place stage points.
Obviously, that changed the whole game for you. Suddenly, it was back to must win, like your teammate Lawrence, and I'm sure you had no clue that 80 laps or so later, you guys would be in this kind of situation, restart after restart, side by side, Chris blocking for you, trying to get you guys to where you guys could fight it out. What was the game plan then like in your own head? Forget the team situation, in your own head. How were you going to try and win this race?
I don't know if you noticed, but a few laps there behind Lawrence, I was arcing it out a lot, or diamonding the corner a little bit to try and get a run off, but it's so hard to get a run off. You're on equal tires and equal set, and closely matched in skill, and it's just hard to get a run on him, especially here. And I wish I was a little bit better on the restarts, but it's really hard restarting on that outside here.
Well, you go into Phoenix then with no worries, at least for your race. Maybe a little bit of help to Chris if you can provide it. Do you have any particular outlook for Phoenix next week?
I'm gonna go there and have fun. Hopefully, I don't get too involved. If there's a little something here or there that I can help Chris out, maybe being a hard to get around lap car or something, but we're just gonna go there and see if we can win a race before the year's up.
Well, there you go. A year-long championship comes down to just a pit road speeding penalty in the last couple of restarts for Luke Doran. Luke, congratulations. Still third place in all of the situations, circumstances, what have it. It is a really good job. Hopefully we're talking to you more soon.
I appreciate it, guys. I'd like to thank my teammates over there at Highside, Lawrence and Chris and Alan, even though he wasn't there tonight, and everybody at Ryko and Bumper Thumper for all they do for us.
Luke Doran, third place tonight. Didn't quite get any laps led. Nearly did a few times. Nearly had the race there with Lawrence Shaughnessy. Just couldn't get on the right side of those restarts to save his life there at the end, really. And has to settle for third place and no championship for. But it was a good night of racing. It really was. And we saw the tempers boil over a little bit. Shaughnessy sent Watson after the checkers. Didn't want to comment on that. Of course, Watts sent Will Height into turn 3 earlier. I think we saw a little bit of that boiling over, but if it hasn't boiled over yet, I don't see a wooden spoon in sight. I don't know who's going to put that wooden spoon on the pot so it doesn't boil over. Phoenix is going to be fun. It's going to be a very interesting situation, and to be very open and honest, I was a little concerned we might see a little bit too much short track racing. These guys did a great job. I know it's only a 12-car field, but they managed themselves very nicely not to get out of hand. That was short track racing a couple of times the way you want to see it. Sure, there was drama. Sure, there were moments that there was a little bit of anger. There was a little bit of frustration. It made the race good. So props to all of you guys for having a really good race tonight, especially with the higher track temps you see there, 87 degrees. It's a pretty warm day at Martinsville. So again, just a really good race when it's all said and done. Let's take a look at what we have upcoming again here at Pit Stop TV. We've been over this a few times, won't bother you too much. Make sure to tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday this upcoming week. We've got Production Card Challenge tomorrow night at Willow Springs, the UFL Elite Series finale on Wednesday from Homestead. Then we go racing for the finale here with the Buttkicker Cup Series on Sunday, November 5th from Phoenix. that will wrap things up for us this evening. Once again, congratulations, Joshua Watson, going to victory lane. A big shout out to Whiplash Simcams, ATVO, and CC's Bees. Just a big shout out to the Buttkicker. Feel what you've been missing for joining us along for this season-long journey. At least these guys, this league for the season-long journey has been a long one for them. And a big shout out to those who make it happen for us behind the scenes and allow us to get these broadcasts done as we do. Of course, in audio, ATVO, Whiplash Simcams, OBS, and iRacing.com. We will see you all next time. Tomorrow night, we go racing at Willow Springs. Make sure you're there. If not, join us Sunday, November 5th, for the finale of the Buttkicker Cup Series from Phoenix.